Today is Monday, April 14th. We're talking about mixed messages over tariffs, what's exempt for now, and what's being targeted next. Also arson at a governor's mansion, and an update on the man who was accidentally deported. Plus, record egg prices have people rethinking Easter traditions. A landmark trial could reshape Silicon Valley for good. And an all-female space flight is launching with a high-fashion touch. Those stories and even more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. There's some uncertainty over U.S. trade policy, and it's expected to cause another chaotic week in Washington and on Wall Street. The confusion started Friday when U.S. Customs and Border Protection posted a notice. It said computers, tablets, semiconductor equipment, and other electronics were exempt from many tariffs on Chinese products and the 10% tariff on all U.S. imports. The White House explained, saying President Trump wanted to make sure companies had enough time to move production to the U.S. But then on Sunday, Trump and his top officials said the only reason tech products are exempt now is because they'll face their own tariffs in the next month or two. Trump even announced a national security trade investigation into the semiconductor business. Many economists are now being harshly critical of the Trump administration, saying the way it's handling the tariff issue has been chaotic since businesses cannot plan or invest with the constant back and forth. But Trump defends the strategy, saying it's important to be flexible. The White House says it's in talks with India, Japan, South Korea, Indonesia, Israel, the UK, and the European Union. In fact, Reuters says the EU's trade commissioner will meet with American officials today in Washington, D.C., with the goal of reaching a trade deal. President Trump also has a more controversial meeting planned today. He's set to welcome El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, who once called himself the world's coolest dictator. Just a few years ago, the Biden administration condemned his authoritarian tactics to remain in power. But his cooperation is crucial for the Trump administration since it's been using El Salvador's notorious Supermax prison to house suspected gang members deported from the U.S. That includes the Maryland father who was sent there by mistake, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Speaking of which, a federal judge told the Trump administration to provide daily updates on their efforts to get Garcia back to the U.S. after the U.S. Supreme Court backed up her earlier order to facilitate his return. For now, the Trump administration says it needs more time to review the Supreme Court's decision before it can detail any steps to bring Garcia home. But it did give an update saying Garcia was alive and secure, but still detained under the authority of El Salvador. So far, the White House has not said if his case will come up in President Trump's meeting with President Bukele. There's a lot the two have to talk about, including the status of Salvadorans living in the U.S., tourism to El Salvador, and tariffs. Critics worry other authoritarian leaders will be taking cues, hoping to curry favor with Trump. But the Trump administration says it hopes other leaders do take cues that his cooperation has become a model for others to work with his administration. Stay tuned. Of course, another part of President Trump's immigration crackdown is actually happening on the southern border. And to that end, he recently signed an executive order that lets the U.S. military take control of the Roosevelt Reservation. That's the strip of public land along the border that goes through California, New Mexico, and Arizona. It specifically tells the military to build a border barrier and install detection and monitoring equipment on the lands. Reports say the Trump administration could also potentially use the zone as a place to hold migrants temporarily, since many detention centers are full. Whether that happens or not, the order ultimately means the military's massive budget can be more directly tapped for border security as needed. Illegal border crossings have already fallen to their lowest level in decades. The war in Gaza is once again getting wider and more intense. Israel's defense minister announced the Israeli military will be expanding throughout most of the territory. It's also seized land along the entirety of the strip's borders, saying it's a buffer zone to prevent attacks. And it's moving into several other areas in northern, southern, and central Gaza. Israel says it's evacuating civilians to protect them from being used by Hamas as human shields. But this means hundreds of thousands of Palestinians have been displaced. Also over the weekend, an Israeli airstrike paralyzed the last fully functioning hospital in Gaza City. Israel says part of the reason it's expanding its operation is to force Hamas to free hostages. But Hamas says the more damage the Israeli military causes, the more uncertain the situation becomes for hostages. One of those hostages is an American-Israeli man who appeared in a new proof-of-life video Hamas released over the weekend. As reports point out, he was almost certainly speaking under duress, but in the video, he appealed directly to President Trump to bring him out of Gaza and to not trust Israel. To be continued. Pope Francis is still working to recover from double pneumonia, but with this being the most important week in the Catholic Church calendar, he's making himself available anyway. At the end of yesterday's Palm Sunday services, he briefly greeted crowds gathered in St. Peter's Square. He also surprised art restorers who were putting the finishing touches on a months-long restoration of papal tombs. And a few days ago, Francis visited St. Peter's Basilica while wearing a poncho, the first time he's been seen in civilian clothes since becoming pope. Remember, Pope Francis spent 5 weeks in the hospital being treated for a lung infection, something his doctor has said almost killed him. His medical team urged him to take 2 months rest, but he's now made 4 unannounced appearances in the last week and met with Britain's King Charles and Queen Camilla. It's not clear how much the Pope plans to be a part of this Holy Week, but it's still packed with services and events leading up to Easter Sunday. More news still ahead, but first, thanks to our sponsor, Honeylove. If you're spring cleaning, start with the essentials and get yourself leggings, shapewear, bras, and more from Honeylove so you can love what you wear. I've learned I can rely on Honeylove's comfort, fit, quality, and look no matter what. And it seems like they think of everything we want but didn't know existed. Their leggings, for example, have it all: comfort, function, and style. Smooth, soft fabric, hidden shaping panels that make me feel extra supported and confident, shear-proof fabric so I have no worries, side pockets for convenience, a super cute look, and more. And Honeylove addresses all of the typical complaints about bras and shapewear, too. All of Honeylove's products make everything I wear feel better. And yes, Honeylove has you covered for the everyday look, workouts, weddings, and more. So go check it out. Treat yourself to the most comfortable and innovative bras, shapewear, and leggings on earth and save 20% off site-wide at honeylove.com/newsworthy. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off honeylove.com/newsworthy. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them we sent you. Experience the new standard in bras and more with Honeylove. Now, back to the news. Rory McIlroy made history at the Masters over the weekend, becoming just the 6th golfer ever to achieve the career Grand Slam. He finished the tournament 11 under, beating Justin Rose by just 1 stroke. McIlroy has been famous in the last decade for failing to win the Masters, since it's the one win that's eluded him, despite winning the other majors. But now he has finally added a green jacket to his collection. Right away, words of congratulations started pouring in from McIlroy, including from a legend who knows what it feels like to get that career Grand Slam. Tiger Woods told McIlroy, quote, "Welcome to the club," and he told him he was proud of him. President Trump's golf game seems to be helping him keep a clean bill of health. Trump's White House doctor released the results of his annual physical, and in it, he specifically cited his, quote, "frequent victories in golf events" for keeping him in excellent health, despite being the second oldest president ever. The report only lays out a few conditions like skin damage and high cholesterol, which the report describes as well controlled. All in all, the report says Trump is, quote, "fully fit to execute the duties of the presidency." Trump will turn 79 in June. The Pennsylvania governor's mansion was set on fire this weekend with Governor Josh Shapiro and his family inside sleeping. They were forced to evacuate at about 2 o'clock in the morning yesterday, hours after they hosted members of the local Jewish community for a Passover celebration. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but the fire severely damaged part of the building. Authorities say a man jumped a fence, managed to evade state troopers, and deployed homemade fire-starting devices. Eventually, he was arrested. And now the suspect is expected to be charged with attempted murder, arson, and terrorism. So far, no word on a motive, but Governor Shapiro says the attack was targeted. The FBI is now on the case. The biggest trial in Meta's history starts today, and 2 of its most popular products are at stake. The tech giant is facing off against the federal government in a landmark antitrust trial. The FTC's argument is that Meta broke the law by acquiring smaller rivals Instagram and WhatsApp so it could keep its monopoly in social media. And regulators want to force Meta to divest Instagram and WhatsApp. On the other side, Meta says it still has plenty of competition from the likes of TikTok, Snap, Reddit, and so on, and that regulators approved Instagram and WhatsApp sales at the time. The tech industry is closely watching this one since Silicon Valley basically runs on startups getting bought out by bigger companies for big payouts. Plus, other powerful tech giants like Google, Apple, and Amazon have their own antitrust investigations to contend with, and this could give them a signal of how the new Justice Department under President Trump plans to rein them in. The Meta trial is expected to last weeks. A star-powered crew of only women is getting ready to launch into space today. It's the 11th space tourism flight for Jeff Bezos' company, Blue Origin. The crew includes Bezos' fiancée, Lauren Sanchez, as well as pop star Katy Perry, journalist Gayle King, a former NASA rocket scientist, a civil rights activist, and a filmmaker. And at least some crew members are promising to look their best. Or as Katy Perry put it, space is going to finally be glam. Sanchez helped design the spacesuits with the help of the creative directors of Oscar de la Renta. They are form-fitting with flared pant legs and some personal embellishments. The rocket is expected to fly just above the boundary of space. The whole voyage is expected to take about 11 minutes. Today's launch window opens at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time and will be live streamed. That's it for the main news, so now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, I want to take a moment to talk about our sponsor, ZocDoc. It's that time of year, and while I love spring for many things, it unfortunately also comes with sneezing, itchy eyes, and nonstop congestion. So why suffer when relief could be a click away? ZocDoc has you covered with easy access to a nearby allergist, a pediatrician for your little ones, a telehealth option for quick care, and more. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 100,000 doctors across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, primary care to urgent care, and more. You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, are located nearby, are a good fit for any medical need you may have, and are highly rated by verified patients. I love using it as a simple search engine for doctors that will work for me, whether I want to find a new one or check out more reviews from real patients. Once you find the right doctor, you can see their actual appointment openings, choose a time slot that works, and click to instantly book a visit. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Now back to Money Monday. With Easter right around the corner and egg prices still hovering around record highs, people are getting creative with their traditions this year, finding other foods to decorate instead of eggs. How-to videos are making the rounds on social media, showing people dyeing things like potatoes and onions. Jet-puffed marshmallows even came out with its own $2 Easter dye kits. That said, some people are adamant about keeping tradition and coloring eggs. For example, there's the White House Easter egg roll. A group representing egg farmers plans to provide roughly 30,000 eggs for that event, thanks to donations from farmers around the country. Guests will decorate them and use them in games like usual, but they'll be smaller eggs than what's typically found in grocery stores. Retail prices hit another high last week, with a dozen more eggs going for a record $6.23 on average. Good news is prices are expected to go down soon, since wholesale prices have already dropped a lot in the last month, just not before Easter. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. You can support our work here and get access to ad-free episodes by becoming a Newsworthy Insider. Start your free trial at thenewsworthy.com/insider. And Wondery Plus subscribers, you can listen to the episodes of The Newsworthy ad-free in the Wondery app. We'll be back with even more news to know tomorrow. For now, have a great day.